Hi there, and welcome to Power Play. I'm Vashi Capellos. Tonight, the Prime Minister heads to Washington.
I don't know, he's coming to see me. I'm not sure what he wants to see me about, but I guess he wants to make a deal.
Don't get bullied, because we know where he's going, and stand firm.
Prime Minister Mark Carney has touched down in D.C. ahead of his high-stakes sit-down with U.S. President Donald Trump. We've got everything you need to know ahead of tomorrow's Oval Office meeting. In moments, Ontario's Washington Representative David Patterson, who has been meeting behind the scenes with top officials, will join us. Then we'll get the latest on Canada's plans and the Trump factor from our senior political correspondent Mike Couture and Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malman. Then, Tories are in town. Pierre Poilievre is set to face his MPs for the first time since losing the election in his own seat. He's pledging to stay on, given the increase in vote share for the party. Our front bench will be here to set up the stakes for Poilievre and his party. Dan Moulton, Shakir Chambers, Kathleen Monk, and Laura Stone are all with us in just a little bit. Plus, Danielle Smith's message to Ottawa. Alberta's premier is set to formally address her province on the Alberta-Ottawa relationship under a new prime minister. That's coming up in moments. First, though.
What's your expectation for your meeting with the Canadian Prime Minister tomorrow?
I don't know, he's coming to see me. I'm not sure what he wants to see me about, but I guess he wants to make a deal. Everybody does. They all want to make a deal because we have something that they all want.
Let's start off with that hugely significant visit to Washington, D.C. that U.S. President Donald Trump just this afternoon referenced when asked about a meeting with Prime Minister Mark Carney. While the president downplayed it there for Canada in the throes of a trade war with our biggest trading partner and staring down threats to our sovereignty, well, the stakes couldn't be higher. So how does the Prime Minister plan to approach the meeting, and who else will be with him? CTV's senior political correspondent Mike Couture has some new details for us and filed this report just before taking off with the Prime Minister for D.C.
Vashi, Mark Carney has already said that his expectations are that these will be difficult yet constructive conversations with U.S. President Donald Trump. One senior government source tells CTV News they are planning for every scenario. A clear reference to how Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was berated in the Oval Office 2 months ago. Now, a number of ministers are accompanying Carney to D.C., including Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly, Public Safety Minister David McGuinty, and the Minister of International Trade Dominic LeBlanc. That delegation will also have meetings tonight with Canadian and American business leaders ahead of that big meeting with Trump tomorrow. Carney has already said he hopes to build on that first phone call with Trump last week. One source says not to expect white smoke when the meetings are over, a reference to the papal conclave being held later this week in Rome. Now, this is the first face-to-face meeting of these two leaders in their current roles, and the Canadian side is clearly trying to manage expectations. But talk of Canada's sovereignty continues to hang over these discussions. While Carney has said becoming the 51st state is out of the question, annexing Canada did come up again in an interview that Trump did with NBC's Meet the Press. Carney has said he wants to address the broader relationship between the two countries, but also the punishing tariffs that have been imposed on Canada by the U.S. Those levies continue to affect Canadian business, and removing them remains a top priority. Carney's entire election campaign was based on him being the best person to deal with U.S. President Donald Trump and his threats. So Vashi, a lot is riding on this meeting.